Hello everyone, this is Maria Loves Art. I will be using these little cat toys as my inspiration. It is one of our cat's birthdays, so I'm going to go ahead and make a cake that looks like cheese and has mice around it. I think she would love that. I'm using confectioner's sugar because I'm going to be using fondant. I'm going to add a little bit of pink to it. I will be making some ears and a tail in this light pink color. Make sure the color is blended into the fondant. So for the next little mouse, I will be making a little bit darker pink color. So I'm going to add a little bit of the red to it and blend it in very well. It will be used for the ears and the tail. So for the third and final mouse, I will be making orange. I'm going to add a little bit of the yellow and a little bit of the reddish pink color. If you want, you can wear gloves. As you can see, my nails are getting stained. So what I am doing now is I have added confectioner's sugar on the bottom. I will then use the fondant and roll it out with a rolling pin. I am going to be using a cobbler. I'm going to use it as a little cutout for the ear to the mouse. As you can see, I have it in my hand and I did put confectioner's sugar on it so it will not stick to the fondant. I'm going to go ahead and press it down and then simply take it out. Each time I will try to put confectioner's sugar, that way it will not stick. Let's go ahead and put this little piece of fondant aside. So now we are going to work on forming the little mouse ear. Just pinch it just a tiny bit on one end. You can shape it a little differently if you like, once it is still soft. This is what they should look like. So now I'm going to be making the light pink ears, and then I will be making the darker pink ears for the little mice. If the fondant is a little bit too sticky, always remember to put just a little bit more confectioner's sugar. I really think these little ears look very cute. I think you will like the way they look at the end. So let's go ahead and work on these tails. Here I have the little orange tail. I am trying to roll it on the countertop. It seems to be slipping, so I need to make sure that I use confectioner's sugar. I am now making the light pink tail for the little mouse. If your fondant is too dry, you may want to add some shortening. Here I am trimming the little tail with the knife. Let's go ahead and do the same exact thing for this last tail. So now we will be doing the eyes. So it looks here like I have a lot of color on the fondant. So what I'm doing now is trying to add enough confectioner's sugar because it is very, very sticky. And here we have the eye. So I'm going to need to make 6 of them. Try your best to make them look exactly the same size. That would be great. So here I am. I'm going to cut the little tops off of these cakes. I'm so glad that they rose like this because I did need a little bit more of the cake to make the mice. So let's go ahead and place one cake on top of the other. What we're going to do is we're going to use a knife and we are going to cut a little wedge. You can make it as wide as you would like. It's up to you. I did work on this cake several days. As you can see, my hands are not stained. Make sure your frosting is not too soft because then it is going to be very, very hard to get it really smooth on the cake. My yellow was just a little bit too bright, so I had to add a little bit of brown to it just to make it a little bit darker. Cake decorating sure does take a lot of time. You just have to plan ahead and do a little bit at a time. I think when you see it at the end, you'll be very satisfied. So I'm just going to use this little thing right here. I bought it from the dollar store. It's been so long and I never used it. So I'm just going to go ahead and place the cake right on this since I'm going to leave it home. I'm just adding a little bit of frosting and then I will put on the cake. I am going to apply some of the frosting in between the layers of the cake. You can always use some kind of filling if you have it. I am dusting some of the crumbs off of the top of the cake because you don't want it to mix with the frosting because then it'll be a big old mess. So let's go ahead and add the frosting. I'm going to go ahead and make the bodies of the mice. I'm using some cake and I'm going to add some frosting. So go ahead and work it in your hands, add some cake and then some frosting, and keep on mixing it and getting it until you feel like it looks great. So once you start working with it a lot, you're going to feel like you're kind of losing it because it's just something that takes a lot of patience and then it wants to crumble apart. All you have to do is put it in the refrigerator for a while and it will take its shape. Whatever you do, don't give up and do not throw it away. You can still use it. Once I played with it for a while, I was happy with it and I think it's pretty good now. So at this point, I was really getting the hang of it. So I was adding some cake and adding frosting too in between. I did put these in the refrigerator so that they can firm up. So I'm adding some confectioner sugar to this little tool here, and I am going to make some little dents on the cake. So this tool is used for working with fondant, and on this one I put a little confectioner sugar on the end of the tool because I didn't want the frosting to lift up, so the confectioner sugar keeps it from sticking to the tool. I just need some dents here and there. I am liking some of the lines on the cake. You can tell it's not super smooth, which is good because it gives it some texture. You can add as many as these little dents as you like. It was pretty fun after doing it for a while, and I just started putting them everywhere. I am planning on making them a little darker. I'm going to spray them with some brown food color. There are so many different types of cheeses. You can just make it any kind of way that you like. Just be creative and have a lot of fun. This was a small cake, but it did take a lot of time. I am making some light pink frosting for the little mouse. I'm going to work on the light pink mouse. So I just took it out of the refrigerator because I needed it to firm up just a tiny bit, and it seemed to work. It was so much easier to smooth on the frosting. The Hostess Zingler cake, it would make a perfect mouse. So when I was holding the little cake, it reminded me of the Hostess Zingler cakes. They are so yummy and it's been so long since I had one. Anyways, I was really craving one. I was also thinking if you didn't have any cake left, that you could also use one of these and cut it up. Go ahead and spread the icing on the little cake. I think it's going to be a cute little mouse. So now the eyes are dried and we are going to add them to this little light pink mouse. Now this little guy has two eyes. The ears have already hardened, so I hope you have them the shape that you want. It's so simple. You just go ahead and decide where you want to put it and just place it there. You don't need anything else. So here we have the tail all nice and it is just in the shape that I wanted it. You can bend yours if you would like, but I think he's going to look really cute. These mice are not supposed to have any whiskers. Here's the darker pink mouse that I have completed. You can always frost everything first and then put all the little pieces together. It's totally up to you. I am working on the last and final mouse. This one is orange. And I'm really happy at this point because now all I have to do is go back and work on the cake. So I am lightly spraying it first and then I will go back and make it a little bit darker in some spots. I want the cheese to have a little old look to it, so I'm adding the brown. So try to be very careful with the little mice now. I took off its tail so I can place it on top. I used a little baking spatula just so that I can handle it a little better. I'm going to insert his little tail, just push it in there a little bit. So let's do the darker pink one. It's slipping just a tiny bit, so I'm going to use another little spatula to help lift him up. I'm just going to tuck them in that little spot where I cut a little wedge from the cake. Don't forget to add the tail. You can see the little mouse sliding, so I'm going to use the other spatula as well to help me lift this little guy and place him near the cake. At this point, you can go back and smooth the edges from the little mice. That way they can look nice and finished. Can you believe that this cake is finally finished? We finally finished the whole steps. So now I'm going to show a little video of the inspiration. So here are the little inspirations. These little mice have catnip in them and they look so cute. I went ahead and added the other little cat toys that came in the pack. Can you imagine turning on the kitchen lights and seeing a lot of mice on your cake? This is exactly how I would feel too. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.